In reselling, style matters just as much as brand. So today I'm reviewing styles that I am very much on the lookout for to sell within my reselling business because they are selling so fast. So let's get started. Okay, the first on this list is suede. Suede jackets, suede skirts, suede, virtually anything is selling really well right now, especially brown suede, either in like a cognac brown color or a chocolate brown color. It is selling so well. I will put up a graph of Google Trends that show the popularity of the search term suede over the past 5 years. And as you can see, it has exploded recently. And I used Google Trends a lot in doing research for this video because I think it's really indicative of not only what is within, Vogue or these different fashion brands and what they say are trending, but it's also indicative of what like normal everyday people are searching for and are buying. Vintage suede is something that can do really well. I would look for more oversized vintage suede jackets, and one that I've experimented with recently did really well. I'll pop it up on the screen. I created a cover photo using AI and it sold within 1 day for $42. This performed so well. I really just want to keep finding pieces like this and experimenting with how well they can perform, especially when I use those AI cover photos. I think if you're going to buy vintage pieces or really just style-based pickups that don't have good cover photos, using AI can help sell them a lot more quickly. And if you're interested in how I do that, I will link my free PDF about how I create my AI cover photos and use AI in my reselling business. It's a completely free PDF and the link will be in the description. So another way I did research for this video is I used the eBay research tab. And so if you just search suede jacket within women's jackets on eBay, the average sale price of just a suede jacket is $56.83. And then the 90-day sell-through rate is 15.85%, which I think for a general keyword like that, that's really high. I was really impressed by that. And it definitely made me want to go find suede jackets at Goodwill, at the bins, and see how they perform. I definitely think there is a strong influence of Western style right now within what's trending. You'll see that like throughout the styles that I'm going through today, and not in like a hokey Western way, but more like an elegant town and country way, more of like a Ralph Lauren luxury ranch sort of way. So I think when you're sourcing, if you just kind of keep that in mind, when you're deciding on especially vintage style-based pickups, if you see something along that lines, especially like in an oversized look, not necessarily in like a structured tailored look, but more like, what we'll talk about next, a barn coat look, a chore coat look, something that's kind of boxy 70s style, patch pocket sort of thing, it's going to perform really well. So just keep that in mind. So the next thing I want to talk about is chore coats and barn coats. This is something that's been trending for a while, but it's still doing really well, especially if you found like a suede style chore coat or barn coat, but it doesn't have to be. This is something that's still very much for sale on places like Net-a-Porter, Cezanne, J. Crew, etc. But you don't have to find really recent styles. In fact, vintage styles can perform even better than recent styles. For chore coats on eBay, the average sales price, just looking chore coat, is $40.58. And that is weighted substantially by a lot of like Target chore coats. If I were to be able to eliminate all the fast fashion chore coats on there, I think that average sales price would be even higher. And then the sell-through rate is 18.47%. And of course, the two brands within this kind of category that perform the best are Ralph Lauren and Burberry's. But another one that is potentially easy to find anywhere within the country and sells really fast for really good money is vintage LL Bean chore coats and barn coats. So if you see that, definitely pick it up. And even if it has like a few scuffs and flaws, I would still pick it up. Also, J. Crew barn coats and chore coats definitely can perform really well. If you found a chore coat or a barn coat, I would just put both keywords in the title and or description. Barn coats are performing very similarly with an average sales price of $47.71 with a sell-through rate of 17.54%. So they're kind of like very similar to me. Chore coats, barn coats, oversized, kind of boxy, Western inspired, New England town and country inspired, kind of that intersection. Okay. Next is something that I mentioned in last year's style video, which some of those styles are definitely still selling well today. Some of them are not, and it's interesting to see what falls off and what's like lasts the test of time. But this is something that I think is still performing really well this year and probably won't be performing well next year. It's horse intarsia sweaters, and that just means it's knitted to have a horse design somewhere on it. If you look on Google Trends, this was big last year, but it's also taking off this year for sure. On eBay, if you search horse intarsia sweater, the average sales price is $53.35 and the sell-through rate is 18.47. I actually have a horse intarsia sweater that I need to sweater shave that's just sitting, so I need to get that done. I need to take it home and do some sweater shaving today. Yeah, if you see that out in the wild, especially if it's vintage, I would definitely at least look it up and potentially just pick it up. Okay, I want to talk about boots and what is trending now. This is kind of a departure from what I said in my last style video, but there are a lot of different styles of boots that are doing really well. Last time I talked about boots in my style video, I'm like, I'm just not picking up boots. Boots aren't really performing well. And I talked about chunky boots, and that's still definitely something that's doing well. But something that was doing well last year that I didn't mention that is still doing insanely well right now are the Fry Campus boot. If you find a Fry Campus boot, no matter the condition, I would say pick it up unless it's priced really high. But the average sales price for a Fry Campus boot on eBay is $206.90 with a 40.33% sell-through rate. And honestly, I think if you found it in the right color, like a brown or the banana color, it would sell even faster. If you find it in a good condition, it would sell even faster. That Fry Campus boot, people are kind of just adding that style name into ones that are not actually campus boot. So I think that sell-through rate is actually higher if you were to go through eBay and get rid of all of the like keyword stuffing listings. But anyway, anything with the campus boot is basically like a tall, kind of almost knee-high boot that has a square toe, and it's very kind of chunky. It's very 70s inspired looking. And so anything within that aesthetic is also going to perform well. It doesn't have to be the Fry Campus boot. There are a lot of brands that are kind of making dupes of this style. And I think if you find it, you can definitely, you might not sell it for $200, but you can sell it for good money. Another style that's doing really well, that's kind of was performing well last year, still performing well when I was doing my research, is a chunky Chelsea boot. So like a Chelsea boot with like a really thick platform and if it has a lug sole platform, can do even better. Those are doing really well. And then also something that's kind of new to me that's performing really well is like a really dainty suede black ankle boot with more of like a minimalist style with almost like if it has like a kitten heel, that's even better. That can perform really well. So that's something that that's kind of new after doing this research to me, and I'm going to be looking for that in the shoe section moving forward, especially, you know, more elevated brands are going to perform well. There are a lot of ankle boots that I still steer clear from, but that one is interesting to me. I want to experiment with that. Okay, next I want to talk about jeans, and something that I talked about last year that is definitely not on trend this year is cargo jeans. I do not pick up cargo jeans at all. I think it's oversaturated. The trend is declining. I'll put up a Google Trends of cargo jeans now. Something that I am finding performs really well is wide leg jeans, and then especially if it has a cuff, like a cuffed wide leg jean, I think performs even better. And I'll put up the Google Trends for cuffed jeans up on the screen. I think it's trending up. I actually think it will continue to trend up into next year potentially. I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, I've stopped buying cargo jeans altogether, and I find it really, really hard to move. So even though it exploded last year, it has fizzled out this year, and I just will not pick it up. But when it comes to denim, I'm really looking for a wide leg, kind of a more baggy style. If it has a cuff, I like to pick that up as well. Okay, the last style I want to talk about, and this is a quicker video, so let me know in the comments down below if you like this style of video, because I can do more of them, but I just wanted to share some of the research that I'm doing. And by the way, I also have a free research PDF in case you're curious how I do my research. I'll link that down below, because there are a bunch of different resources that I tap into to try to get in the mind of a consumer, of your average customer who is willing to pay a higher average sales price on eBay, Poshmark, etc., there's always going to be like the bargain shopper, and they aren't necessarily trend conscious. But that's not my ideal customer. My ideal customer is willing to spend $100 plus for certain styles. Maybe those styles typically on, you know, a retail website are selling for $200 to $300, and they'd rather spend $100 through buying pre-owned. That's my customer. And so I'm really trying to get into their mind and see what they're looking for and try to provide those styles. So anyway, the last style that I want to talk about is dainty lace. And how I really came across this style is by just looking through different brands' websites that I like to pick up. So I'm looking at Doan's website, I'm looking at Reformation's website, and let me just show you these websites. Doan's, I'm going to just scroll through on the screen. Almost every style on their new arrivals page has like a dainty lace detail on it. That tells me that when I'm picking up these mid-tier luxury brands, if it has some kind of lace element, it might actually even perform better. Reformation is the same way. They have a ton of lace details on their website. I would say silk, the silk lace combination, really good. I don't know if I'm going to necessarily experiment with vintage silk lace, because when I was doing research in that seems to be fairly saturated. Maybe if I came across it at the bins, or I came across one at Goodwill that seemed really on trend to me, I would pick it up, make a really good AI cover photo for it, and see how it performs. And I could easily see that performing well, but I'm not like about to go spend $20 on vintage lace silk cami, because that's just, I haven't really seen that in the data yet to support that kind of decision. But if I saw a Reformation silk lace dress, I definitely pay up for it. And Doan I pay up for anyway. So those are 6 styles that I think are really trending right now within fall 2025 and will continue into winter 2025. And I'm curious, let me know in the comments down below, what styles have you seen selling really, really well? Some other things that I was thinking about including are, but I didn't really do a ton of research on, red, like pops of red, red cashmere scarf. I'm willing to, I want to kind of experiment with that as well. Pops of red has just been on trend for like 3 years now. I find jerseys, especially like jerseys that have red in it, are performing really well, or any kind of like jersey inspired t-shirt, like the Great or Free People have a lot of those right now, or Anthropology. Plaid mini skirts, pleated mini skirts selling really well right now, or even plaid midi skirts. So those are all kind of styles that I am experimenting with and trying to see what performs well and what just looks good within the pages of Vogue, but the average customer isn't really willing to pay up for. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below what within your reselling business is selling well for you right now, and what are you on the lookout for style-wise when you go to the thrift store. I think the comments section can be such a great resource in these videos. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Okay, love y'all. Bye!